The air in the office of the Clerk of Courts is a stagnant thing, thick with the smell of old paper, stale coffee, and the cloying sweetness of a cheap air freshener shaped like a pine tree. It is a smell of bureaucratic indifference. Dr. Alastair Finch stands before the high counter, a manila folder held loosely in one hand. He is a ghost in this room, a spectre of patience. For 58 minutes, he has been treated as invisible, a piece of furniture the room's sole occupant has chosen to ignore. Her name is Brenda. Her nameplate says so in severe gold letters. Brenda Mulligan, Senior Deputy Clerk. Brenda is a woman carved from disapproval. Her greying hair is pulled into a bun so tight it seems to stretch the skin over her cheekbones. Her mouth is a thin, permanent line of dissatisfaction, a scar from a lifetime of judging the people who appear on the other side of her counter. She types with 2 fingers, each keystroke a tiny, percussive hammer of contempt. Tap. 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 The sound fills the silence, a metronome counting down the seconds of Finch's life he will never get back. He has not spoken since his initial, polite request. "Excuse me, I need to file this exhibit list for case 73B for 41. Brenda had glanced up then, her eyes sweeping over him in a single, dismissive motion. She saw a young black man in a charcoal grey suit that didn't quite fit his lean frame, the shoulders a little too wide, the trousers a fraction too short. She saw a cheap tie and scuffed shoes. She saw, in her estimation, someone who did not belong. So she looked back down at her keyboard. And the ignoring began. Alastair Finch does not shift his weight. He does not clear his throat. He does not tap his fingers on the worn linoleum counter. He simply stands, a pillar of stillness, his gaze fixed on the back of her rigid head. He is an observer, a collector of data. And the data he is currently collecting is on the precise mechanics of weaponized apathy. He watches the muscles in her neck tense as she deliberately focuses on a staple removal task that requires the concentration of a bomb disposal expert. He notes the slight, smug curl of her lip as another person, a white lawyer in a crisp pinstripe suit, bustles in, is greeted with a saccharine smile, and has his paperwork processed in under 90 seconds. "Have a wonderful day, Mr. Thompson," Brenda chirps, her voice a different instrument entirely. Then the lawyer is gone, and the silence, thick and deliberate, descends once more. Finch understands. This is a power play, as old as the stone of the courthouse itself. It is a small person wielding small power in the biggest way they know how. She is making him wait because she can. It is a tax she levies on those she deems unworthy of her time. He looks at the clock on the wall. The second hand sweeps past the 12. A full hour. He allows a single, slow breath to escape his lips. He has the information he needs. He places the manila folder gently on the counter. "I will be back," he says, his voice quiet but clear, devoid of anger or frustration. It is a simple statement of fact. Brenda does not look up. She merely offers a faint, dismissive sniff as he turns and walks away, his scuffed shoes making no sound on the tiled floor. The courtroom of Judge Theron Thorne is not a hall of justice. It is a throne room. Everything is designed to project power, to diminish and intimidate. The wood of the judge's bench is dark and oiled, rising from the floor like a fortress wall. The American flag to his right and the state flag to his left are not mere symbols, they are banners of a conquered territory. His territory. Judge Thorne himself is a man who seems poured from concrete and bile. He is large, with a florid face and small, intelligent eyes that glitter with a perpetual, simmering rage. His white hair is a perfect, sculpted helmet. When he puts on his black robe, it is not a uniform, it is a coronation. He sits enthroned, looking down upon the 2 figures at the defense table. They seem impossibly small from his vantage point. Maria Santiago is a wraith. A single mother who works 2 jobs cleaning offices, now accused of siphoning $100,000 from the corporate behemoth, Omnicorp. Her skin is pale, her eyes wide with a terror that has been her constant companion for months. She wears a simple black dress, the best thing she owns, and it hangs on her thin frame like a shroud. Beside her is Ben Carter, her public defender. He is young, earnest, and drowning. His suit is rumpled, his hair is a mess, and the stacks of paper in front of him are not a fortress of evidence but a tombstone marking the death of his case. He believes his client. He knows she is innocent. But belief is not a currency Judge Thorne accepts. "Mr. Carter," the judge booms, his voice an avalanche. "Are we to be graced with the presence of your opening statement today, or do you intend to waste this court's valuable time with more of your fumbling?" The jury, a collection of weary faces, shifts uncomfortably. The prosecutor, a slick man named Donovan Pike, smirks. This is familiar territory. A Thorne-run courtroom is a spectator sport, and the home team always wins. "Your Honor," Ben begins, his voice trembling slightly. "We have filed a motion to dismiss based on improper evidence handling by the prosecution." Thorne picks up a sheaf of papers from his desk, presumably Ben's motion. He does not read it. He holds it by a single corner, as if it were a soiled piece of trash. "Improper evidence handling," Thorne muses, his voice dripping with condescension. A bold claim from a lawyer who appears to have trouble handling his own briefcase. "You allege that Omnicorp's internal audit, an audit conducted by the most respected firm in the state, is somehow flawed. The digital chain of custody is broken, Your Honor. The logs were tampered with. My client's work terminal was accessed remotely from an unauthorized IP address the night before the audit." Judge Thorne lets the motion drop from his fingers. It flutters to his desk with a soft, final thud. "Denied," he says, the word a hammer blow. The court finds no merit in these fanciful theories. "Let's not play make-believe, Mr. Carter. We have a simple woman here who got greedy. A tale as old as time. Now, are you ready to proceed, or shall I hold you in contempt for this flagrant dithering?" Ben Carter's shoulders slump. The first blow has landed, and it has shattered his shield. He looks at Maria, whose face has crumpled in despair. Alastair Finch slips into the back row of the gallery, unnoticed. He watches the scene unfold, his expression unreadable. He sees the judge, a petty king on a throne of varnished wood. He sees the prosecutor, a jackal enjoying the kill before it has even begun. He sees the young lawyer, a good man broken by a corrupt system. And he sees Maria Santiago, a woman being erased. He feels a cold, quiet anger settle in his chest. It is an old friend. The morning grinds on, a slow, brutal dissection of a life. Donovan Pike, the prosecutor, calls his witnesses. A condescending IT manager from Omnicorp who speaks in impenetrable jargon. A smug department head who testifies that Maria was always quiet and kept to herself, as if this were proof of criminal intent. With each witness, Judge Thorne becomes more emboldened. He leans forward, his chin resting on his fist, a Roman emperor deciding the fate of a gladiator. He helps the prosecutor, rephrasing questions, adding his own leading commentary. "So, what you're saying," Thorne interrupts, "is that the defendant had sole access to these accounts. That no one else could have possibly made these transfers without her knowledge." "Objection, Your Honor." Leading the witness. Ben Carter squeaks, rising to his feet. Overruled, Thorne snaps, not even bothering to look at him. "Sit down, Mr. Carter. The adults are talking." Laughter, low and cruel, ripples through the prosecutor's side of the courtroom. Maria Santiago flinches as if struck. Finch watches it all. He notes the way Thorne's eyes linger on Maria, not with judicial scrutiny, but with a palpable disdain. He sees the classism, the racism, the sheer, unadulterated arrogance of a man who has never been told no. During a brief recess, Thorne makes a show of looking at the clock. "Let us hope the defense has something more substantial than wounded looks to present this afternoon," he announces to the room. "I have a tea time at 4, and I do not intend to be late because of this charade." He glares directly at Maria. "Some people think they can play the system," he says, his voice low but carrying to every corner of the silent room. "They think they can steal from their betters and cry for sympathy when they are caught. This court will make an example of you, madam. I will see to it that you are separated from your child for the maximum allowable sentence." He will be a grown man by the time you are free. Perhaps then you will have learned a lesson about honesty. It is a threat of unimaginable cruelty, delivered with the casual air of a man ordering lunch. Maria lets out a choked sob, a sound of pure agony. Ben Carter puts a hand on her shoulder, but he has no words of comfort to offer. There are none. This is the breaking point. Judge Thorne's gaze sweeps the gallery, a king surveying his subjects. His eyes land on Alastair Finch in the back row. He sees the same thing Brenda the clerk saw, a black man in a cheap suit who does not belong. A smirk plays on the judge's lips. And the court would appreciate it if the gallery refrained from becoming a shelter for loiterers, he says, his voice dripping with venom. This is a place of law, not a bus station. The insult hangs in the air, sharp and ugly. It is aimed at Finch, but it is for everyone. It is a declaration of his power, his ownership of this space and everyone in it. Alastair Finch does not react. His face remains a calm mask. But inside him, a switch is flipped. A very precise, very cold mechanism engages. The observation phase is over. The time for action has arrived. The afternoon session begins under a pall of hopelessness. Ben Carter looks like a man walking to his own execution. He has one witness left. A long shot. A Hail Mary. An expert his firm had to beg a favor to get, someone recommended by a legal aid society. He has only spoken to the man on the phone. He hopes he is even here. Mr. Carter, Judge Thorne sighs with exaggerated weariness. Does the defense have anything to present? Or shall we move on to the inevitable conclusion? Ben Carter takes a deep breath. He squares his shoulders. He has nothing left to lose. Yes, Your Honor, he says, his voice finding a sliver of strength. The defense calls its expert witness to the stand. Thorne raises an eyebrow. An expert? On what? The art of the frivolous lawsuit. An expert in forensic accounting and digital security, Ben says, looking toward the back of the courtroom. The defense calls Dr. Alastair Finch. The name hangs in the air. For a moment, nothing happens. Then, from the back row, a figure rises. It is the man in the ill-fitting suit. The loiterer. Alastair Finch walks toward the front of the courtroom. The journey is not long, but every step is a seismic event. The air crackles. The atmosphere in the room begins to change, the pressure dropping as if before a storm. He passes the clerk's station. Brenda Mulligan, who has been smirking alongside the judge, looks up. Her eyes widen. The color drains from her face, leaving behind a pasty, sickly white. Her mouth falls open. The smugness is gone, replaced by a dawning, sickening horror. She recognizes him now, not from her counter, but from the memo she'd ignored, the one about a visiting expert with credentials that had taken up a full page. Finch does not look at her. He walks past the prosecution's table. Donovan Pike stares, confused. Who is this? He reaches the witness stand. He turns to the bailiff, a burly man who looks momentarily stunned. Your Honor, the bailiff mumbles, recovering. Please raise your right hand. Finch raises his hand. He recites the oath, his voice no longer quiet. It is calm, resonant, and fills the room with an authority that has been absent all day. It is the voice of absolute, unshakable confidence. He sits down. He adjusts the microphone. He looks directly at Judge Theron Thorne. The ill-fitting suit no longer looks cheap. It looks like a deliberate choice. A disguise. The quiet demeanor no longer seems timid. It seems controlled. Contained. Judge Thorne stares back, his mind racing. A flicker of uncertainty, the first he has felt in years, crosses his face. This is not what he expected. This man does not carry the energy of a victim. He carries the energy of a predator. State your name for the record, Ben Carter says, his own voice shaky with a strange, new feeling, hope. My name is Dr. Alastair Finch. And your profession? I am a forensic accountant and a certified digital forensics examiner. I am the founder and lead analyst at Cipher Security, a firm that consults for Fortune 100 companies, the Department of Justice, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. A stunned silence blankets the courtroom. The jury members lean forward. The prosecutor, Pike, is frantically whispering to his aide. Judge Thorne's face has hardened into a mask of stone, but a tiny muscle begins to twitch in his jaw. "And what are your qualifications, Dr. Finch?" Ben asks, reading from the CV he has just been handed and can barely believe. Finch does not need notes. "I hold a doctorate in computer science from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, with a specialization in cryptographic systems. I have a master's degree in business administration from Stanford, with a focus on financial auditing. I have authored 17 peer-reviewed papers on digital security protocols and co-authored the standard textbook on tracing illicit financial transactions in closed networks. I have testified as an expert witness in over 200 federal and state cases." He pauses, his eyes locked on Judge Thorne. "I am also the man you called a loiterer." The power has shifted. It has not just tilted, it has reversed, violently and completely. The judge's bench is no longer a fortress. It is a cage. And Judge Theron Thorne is beginning to realize he is trapped inside it with something very, very dangerous. Ben Carter, now emboldened by the solid ground beneath his feet, begins his questioning. "Dr. Finch, did you have an opportunity to review the evidence presented by the prosecution against my client, Maria Santiago?" "I did," Finch replies, his voice a scalpel. "I reviewed the audit logs from Omnicorp, the transaction records, and the forensic image of Miss Santiago's work terminal." "And what did you find?" "I found a work of fiction," Finch says simply. "A clumsy, arrogant, and ultimately transparent fabrication of guilt." Donovan Pike leaps to his feet. "Objection! The witness is offering a narrative, not testimony." "Sustained," Thorne barks, his gavel cracking like a rifle shot. He glares at Finch. "Confine your answers to the facts, Doctor." The sneer around the title is unmistakable. Finch gives a slight, almost imperceptible nod. "My apologies, Your Honor. Let me rephrase in a way the court will find more palatable." He turns to the jury. He does not speak to them like they are children. He speaks to them like they are intelligent people who have been lied to. The prosecution's case rests on a series of digital log files. Think of these logs as a security camera for a computer system. They record every door that opens, every file that is touched, every dollar that is moved. The logs presented in evidence show a user account, M. Santiago, transferring $100,000 in 10 separate transactions to an offshore account. He pauses. However, a log file can be edited. The tape can be doctored. The prosecution, and the Omnicorp auditors they relied upon, only looked at the surface. They looked at the movie. I looked at the film itself, frame by frame. Finch's hands move as he speaks, painting a picture in the air. Every digital file has a signature, a kind of fingerprint called a hash value. It also has metadata, hidden information that records when it was created and when it was last modified. The log files Omnicorp provided have modification timestamps dated 3 hours after the alleged criminal activity took place. The original hash values do not match the current ones. In layman's terms, the security tape was edited. Someone went back and dubbed my client's face onto the body of the real thief. A murmur sweeps through the jury box. "Objection!" Pike shouts again, his voice strained. "Speculation!" "Overruled," Thorne says, but his voice has lost its thunder. He is watching Finch, a look of grudging fascination warring with his fury. "Let him continue. I want to see where this fantasy leads." "It leads here, Your Honor," Finch says, turning back to Ben. "Mr. Carter, please display Exhibit D1. An image appears on the large screen in the courtroom. It is a string of code, meaningless to most people in the room. This is a fragment of deleted code I recovered from the unallocated space on Omnicorp's server, the digital trash can, if you will. It's part of a script. A program designed to do one thing, mimic the user activity of another account. This script was used to make it look like Maria Santiago was at her computer, when in fact, the commands were being issued from a different location. And could you determine that location? Ben asks, his voice steady. I could, Finch says. He looks over at the prosecutor's table, where a man in an expensive suit sits, looking increasingly ill. He is Gerald Croft, the chief financial officer of Omnicorp. The commands originated from an IP address hard-coded into the script itself. An IP address that is assigned to a private network. Specifically, the executive guest Wi-Fi network at the Pine Valley Golf and Country Club. Judge Thorne flinches. It is barely perceptible, a slight tightening around his eyes, but Finch sees it. Pine Valley is Thorne's favorite club. He practically lives there. And I was able to cross-reference the time of the intrusion with the club's network access logs, which I subpoenaed this morning. Finch continues, his voice relentless. During the exact window the fraudulent transfers were made, only one device was logged into that network. A laptop. Its MAC address, a unique serial number, is registered to one Gerald Croft, CFO of Omnicorp. Gerald Croft makes a small, strangled sound. Every eye in the courtroom swivels to him. His face is the color of ash. This is outrageous. Croft sputters, half rising from his seat. A lie? Sit down. Thorne roars, banging his gavel. But the command is for Croft, not Finch. The judge is no longer controlling the proceedings. He is reacting to them. He is a passenger in his own courtroom. Finch isn't finished. The deconstruction is only beginning. The money was transferred to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. The prosecution alleges this account belongs to a shell corporation set up by Miss Santiago. This is false. I traced the beneficial ownership of that corporation. It is not in her name. The paperwork was filed by a proxy firm, but the ultimate beneficiary, the person who receives the money, is listed under a trust. The Triple Eagle Trust. Finch lets the name hang in the air for a moment. An interesting name. Reminiscent of a particularly rare achievement in the game of golf. He looks directly at Judge Thorne now. The twitch in the judge's jaw is a violent spasm. Objection! Your Honor, this is irrelevant. Pike cries, his voice desperate. He sees where this is going. They all do. No, Mr. Pike, Thorne says, his voice a low, dangerous growl. I want to hear it. The whole, sordid fantasy. Continue, Doctor. As you wish, Your Honor, Finch says, his tone glacial. The trust was established 5 years ago. It receives regular payments from several sources, all of them corporations that have had cases of financial malfeasance appear in this very courtroom. In every single one of those cases, the corporation received a lenient judgment or an outright dismissal. From you. The accusation is laid bare. It is no longer about Maria Santiago. It is about everything. It is about the rot at the heart of this courtroom. Thorne's face is a mask of pure fury. The blood has rushed to his skin, turning it a deep, mottled purple. He grips the arms of his chair, his knuckles white. You are skating on the thinnest of ice, sir, Thorne hisses. You are making an accusation against the bench. You are one word away from a contempt charge that will see you rot in a cell. The truth is not contempt, Your Honor, Finch replies calmly. It is merely inconvenient. He turns his attention back to Ben Carter. There is one more thing. When I arrived at the courthouse this morning, I attempted to file my preliminary findings and an updated exhibit list with the clerk's office. The senior deputy clerk, he glances briefly at Brenda, who looks like she might faint, was unavailable. She refused to accept my filing for 1 hour. This was problematic, as evidence must be time-stamped to be valid. So, I took the liberty of walking to the federal building across the street and having my documents notarized and time-stamped by a clerk in the U.S. Attorney's office. They were kind enough to make a copy for their records. Finch slides the manila folder he was holding earlier across the witness box to Ben. That folder contains the full, unredacted transaction history of the Triple Eagle Trust, which I legally obtained via a subpoena to the corresponding bank in the Caymans. It shows a payment of $50,000 deposited 2 days ago. The memo line on the wire transfer reads, Omnicorp consulting fee. The structure of the lie has been dismantled. The frame has been shattered. Now, only the rubble remains. Judge Thorne is no longer a judge. He is a cornered animal. The veneer of judicial temperament has been sandblasted away, revealing the raw, ugly prejudice and corruption beneath. This is a circus, he bellows, rising from his chair, his black robe swirling around him like a thundercloud. A mockery of my courtroom. I will not stand for it. This witness is excused. His testimony is stricken from the record. All of it. He points a trembling finger at Finch. Bailiff, take this man into custody for perjury and contempt of court. The bailiff hesitates. He looks from the raging judge to the preternaturally calm man in the witness box. For the first time in his career, he does not move. Did you hear me? Thorne screams, his voice cracking. I am the law in this room. No, Your Honor, Finch says, his voice cutting through the tirade like a shard of ice. You are merely a defendant who does not yet know he has been charged. Finch reaches into the inside pocket of his ill-fitting jacket. He pulls out a small, sleek digital audio recorder. There is the matter of the final piece of evidence, he says to the jury. I believe you will find it illuminating. Ben Carter takes the recorder. The defense would like to play audio file designated Exhibit D2. I forbid it! Thorne shrieks. I forbid it! But it is too late. Ben presses the play button, and a voice fills the courtroom. It is the voice of Gerald Croft, the Omnicorp CFO, tinny and distorted, but unmistakable. The trace has to be perfect, Theron. I want her buried under this thing. Then, a second voice. A voice everyone in the room knows. A booming, arrogant voice. The voice of Judge Theron Thorne. Don't you worry about a thing, Jerry. The paperwork is already as good as signed. People like her, they get what they deserve. She'll be a good little lesson for the rest of them. And besides, that $50,000 will look lovely in the trust. A down payment on my new driver. There is a pause on the recording. Then Croft's voice again. What if her public defender gets lucky? Pulls a rabbit out of a hat. Thorne's recorded laughter fills the room. It is a horrible, cruel sound. That wetted child? Please. He couldn't find a loophole in a fishing net. This case is airtight. The only people in my courtroom who matter are the ones who know how to play the game. The rest are just loiterers in the gallery. The recording clicks off. The silence that follows is absolute. It is a profound, deafening silence, the sound of a world ending. Judge Theron Thorne stands frozen behind his bench, his face a grotesque canvas of shock, rage, and dawning, abject terror. He looks from the audio recorder to Finch, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. And in that perfect silence, a new sound emerges. Thump. 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 It is the sound of heavy, determined footsteps approaching from the hallway. The grand courtroom doors, the ones reserved for judges and ceremonial occasions, are thrown open with such force that they slam against the walls. 2 men and a woman stride into the room. They are not in uniform. They wear dark, severe suits. Their faces are grim, their eyes hard. They move with an unnerving purpose. They are from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The lead agent, a tall woman with sharp eyes, holds up her credentials to the stunned bailiff. Special Agent Marks, FBI. This courtroom is now a federal crime scene. Her team fans out. 2 agents walk directly to the prosecution's table and place a hand on Gerald Croft's shoulder. He wilts, offering no resistance. Another agent approaches the clerk station, where Brenda Mulligan is openly weeping. Special Agent Marks walks toward the judge's bench. She does not stop at the bottom. She walks up the stairs, onto the sacred platform, and stands before Theron Thorne, her expression one of cold, professional disgust. "Theron Thorne," she says, her voice ringing with authority. "You are under arrest for conspiracy, bribery, and obstruction of justice." Thorne seems to shrink inside his robe. The power, the arrogance, the very force of his personality evaporates, leaving only a frightened, corrupt old man. "You can't do this," he whispers, the words pathetic and hollow. "This is my court." "Not anymore," Agent Marks replies. She nods to another agent, who steps forward. "Please remove your robe, sir." It is the ultimate humiliation. In front of the jury, the lawyers, the public he lorded over, Thorne is stripped of his power. The agent helps him take off the black robe, the symbol of his authority. Underneath, he is just a man in an expensive suit, sweating with fear. The agent produces a pair of handcuffs. The metallic click as they lock around Thorne's wrists echoes through the vast room. As they lead him down from the bench, a fallen king being paraded through his conquered kingdom, Thorne's eyes find Alastair Finch, who has remained seated in the witness box, watching. "Who are you?" Thorne rasps, his voice raw with disbelief and hatred. "Who are you really?" Finch meets his gaze. His expression is not one of triumph or glee. It is one of profound, weary sadness, the look of a man who has seen this same ugly story play out too many times. "I am the man you didn't see," he says, his voice just loud enough for Thorne to hear. "I'm the expert you dismissed. The loiterer you insulted. I am the consequence of your arrogance." The agents lead Thorne away, a sputtering, broken man. The kingdom has fallen. The throne is empty. The fallout is not a storm. It is a cleansing fire. The investigation sparked by Dr. Alastair Finch's testimony is swift, brutal, and mercilessly thorough. The Triple Eagle Trust is the key that unlocks a decade of systemic corruption. Theron Thorne, stripped of his title and his dignity, refuses a plea bargain. He believes, until the very end, that his connections will save him. They do not. He is convicted on all counts. The judge in his federal trial, a stern woman with no tolerance for judicial misconduct, makes an example of him. He is sentenced to 30 years in a maximum security federal penitentiary. No parole. His assets, his homes, his art collection, and every penny in the Triple Eagle Trust are seized. He dies in prison 7 years later, a forgotten man, his name a byword for corruption. Donovan Pike, the prosecutor, sings like a canary to save his own skin. He details every case he helped Thorne fix, every bribe he facilitated. His cooperation earns him a reduced sentence, but he is still disbarred and serves 10 years in a medium-security prison. He emerges a broken man, unable to find work anywhere but as a night-shift stocker in a grocery store. Gerald Croft, the Omnicorp CFO, is convicted for embezzlement, perjury, and his role in the bribery scheme. He is sentenced to 25 years. Omnicorp, facing a massive federal investigation and a catastrophic blow to its public image, is forced to clean house. The CEO is fired, the board is replaced, and the corporation pays a historic 9-figure fine to the Department of Justice. Brenda Mulligan, the senior deputy clerk, is charged with misdemeanor obstruction of justice for her refusal to file Finch's documents. She is fired, loses her pension, and receives 2 years of probation. She ends her career working at a discount retail store, a small, bitter woman invisible to the world. The heroes of the story find a different kind of justice. All charges against Maria Santiago are immediately dropped with a formal, public apology from the district attorney's office. The class action lawsuit filed against Omnicorp on behalf of its shareholders and the victims of Thorne's court settles for an astronomical sum. Maria's portion of the settlement ensures that she and her son will never have to worry about money again. She is free, her name is cleared, and she has the resources to build a new life. Ben Carter becomes an overnight legal star. His passionate, if initially clumsy, defense of Maria Santiago makes him a hero in the public defender's office. He is headhunted by a prestigious national civil rights law firm. They give him a corner office and a team of researchers, empowering him to take on the kinds of cases he once only dreamed of fighting. He becomes a champion for the underdog, a warrior forged in the fires of Thorne's corrupt courtroom. The most significant change, however, is the systemic one. Dr. Finch's work does not end with Thorne's conviction. He partners with the U.S. Attorney's Office to lead a judicial review task force. They meticulously examine every major ruling from Thorne's 20-year career on the bench. Over the next 2 years, their work leads to the overturning of 47 wrongful convictions. 47 people, mostly poor, mostly minorities, are freed from prison, their lives returned to them. To honor the catalyst for this revolution, a new non-profit is established, funded by a portion of the Omnicorp settlement. It is named the Santiago Justice Initiative, and its sole mission is to provide world-class, pro bono expert witnesses for indigent defendants. Justice, it declares, should not be a commodity available only to the rich. 2 years later. The courtroom is different. The dark, oppressive wood has been replaced. The room is brighter, the windows clean, letting in the afternoon sun. The air feels lighter. A new judge sits on the bench. She is a sharp, attentive black woman, known for her fairness and her meticulous attention to detail. In the gallery, Maria Santiago watches the proceedings. She is no longer a wraith. She is vibrant, confident. She carries a heavy textbook in her lap, Introduction to Contract Law. She is in her 2nd year of law school. Her son sits beside her, doing his homework, occasionally glancing up at his mother with pride. At the lawyer's table, Ben Carter argues a motion. His voice is strong, his arguments precise. He moves with the easy confidence of a man who knows he belongs, who knows he is fighting on a level playing field. In the back row, unnoticed by most, sits Dr. Alastair Finch. He is dressed in another simple suit, his presence quiet and unassuming. He is not here on a case. He is here to watch. To see the garden that has grown in the place where he once pulled out the weeds. A young man, a student from a local university, sits beside him, taking notes. Finch is mentoring him, teaching him how to see the patterns others miss, how to find the truth buried in the noise. He watches Maria smile at her son. He watches Ben win his motion. He watches the new judge deliver her ruling with clarity and compassion. Arrogance is a form of blindness. It is a disease of the powerful, a self-inflicted cataract that renders them incapable of seeing the humanity in those they deem beneath them. Judge Theron Thorne was blind. He looked at Maria Santiago and saw a stereotype. He looked at Ben Carter and saw a nuisance. He looked at Alastair Finch and saw a loiterer. He never saw the people. He never saw the truth. And he never, ever saw the reckoning that was standing patiently in front of him, waiting for the perfect moment to turn on the lights. Justice is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it is patient. And sometimes the most dangerous man in the room is the one nobody bothered to see at all.